All right, how's everyone doing? I'm Rich CELENZA. Thanks for tuning into the Rich CELENZA Show. WTF are you talking about? So what I want to call today's podcast is learn to take notes in your life. I'm going to go back to high school. I think it was freshman or sophomore year. I had a teacher that his wife was an author, and they asked us to do a journal. He did, for some reason or another, for a month straight. And I wasn't a writer by any means back then. I just didn't like school, but I really liked that idea. So basically we wrote down throughout the day, or one page, what we did, I think, or what we want to do that day. I'm trying to remember like what we want to do the next day, or whatever we really wanted to write. Each day we would mention something different, but what it really came down to is writing about, at the end of the day, what you did and what you want to do tomorrow. And then we'd even have other days where he would say, all right, today write in your journal like what you plan on being at when you're 25 years old, where you plan on being at this age or this stage in your life. And I remember writing I wanted 2 daughters, and I thought I'd have twins, which was just a weird thing because it ran in my Italian family on one of my Italian sides, or whatever, one side of my family. And I ended up having twins, but we lost them, which is quite interesting. But then I ended up still having 2 daughters. And I'll never forget that. But I had that book. So we only did it for a month and then we stopped. I never went back to it. But I kept that journal for a long time in my life. I mean, for a long time, like 10 years later. I kept it all the way up until I think my mid-20s at least. But when I went to go start making films, I had to start taking notes because it just was so overwhelming. I didn't realize everything I was taking on, especially producing it. I wrote it. I directed it. And even just going to a shoot, all the different things I had to have, from props, along with each shot I wanted to take, each angle, all the equipment I had to bring. So I just started to take notes. And before you know it, it was more and more notes. But thank God I did that. And I would work with other filmmakers and other people, and they weren't that prepared usually. I was almost overly prepared, and I think I did that because I don't have the best memory necessarily. But when it comes to me, I write it down, But it would take me, I can't even tell you how long throughout. I would put hours into my notes saying, okay, when I get to we're going to do this, we're going to go to this location, I'm going to need this type of car, I need to know, this person has to wear this, and I have to fax all this information. I have to get everyone's fax number. This was even before the cell phone era. This is the early 90s, and then even 2003 roughly, people had cell phones, but it wasn't like now. A lot of people didn't. They had email addresses, but it was just different. Connecting with everyone was harder. But I had all these notes, and I saved those notes. And very similar to what I did with the journal, I'd go back like 5-10 years later and go, oh my God, I did this, I did that. Oh yeah, I remember that. I remember that day, this. It was quite interesting. And then when I decided to finally, I wrote a few more scripts. And while I was doing that, I got an iPhone, and I was always constantly on notes, putting notes for ideas constantly. Man, it was awesome. I also had notes regarding my children, so I would be putting notes there like what I have to do with them, pick up, drop off. We got to go do this. We have something to do at school. We had an event that day, or we had a game that day, or I had a modeling show for my daughter, or what I had to pick up, all these things. And I seen, again, a lot of parents not taking any notes, kind of being all over the place. And then let's fast forward to when I decided to write a couple books. Again, it was so many different things with my notes, things that I would put in there that I was interested in researching, my ideas again. And, I also had an iPad I carried with me, and somebody was always writing and things in that nature. And now fast forward to when I was creating my U-Around app, which I'm still working on, all these different things, all these ideas, questioning myself, then questioning other people, putting them in my notes. And now I'm with my podcast and my YouTube channel, and so many different ideas come to me, and I put them in my notes. Especially my podcast and YouTube video ideas, obviously, but different concepts and I'm always questioning myself and questioning others, or people will question me, and I'll put that right in my notes. And I think a lot of people, the one thing they're missing in their life a lot of times, just to get a little more organized or take a lot of stress off them, is taking notes. It's that simple. And because I have to travel so much, I really had to have notes, because I would be like, a lot of times I could catch 12 to 15 flights in a week. I got to make, and I don't always take the same airline. I have to take what's available and what is the most cost effective, along with, with the timing. I also sometimes, with rental cars, I try to find the most affordable. So sometimes those may be switching. Same with hotel, different times I'm landing, leaving, the job in itself. So again, I live and die by these notes. Now, a lot of people may not have to be that extreme, and I get it. But if you do have an iPhone or a Samsung or whatever type of phone you have, I'm telling you, if you start taking some damn notes, it's going to be a game changer. And I want to do a video for people that work out on taking notes. And that's the one thing I never did do. I kind of look at myself as kind of a hippie worker outer, I guess you could say. Somebody who loves to go to different gyms. I never do the same workout. Mainly, a lot of times it's with weights or some cardio. I try to end with swimming. But I never took notes. And if you're just beginning to work out, or you've quit working out, or you've had problems, I would recommend starting to take notes. You don't have to be one of those guys, too, that walks around with a booklet that has to write down every single set, unless you want to, how many reps you did, type of equipment you did, what time you got in, make sure you're getting your minute rested between sets, all that stuff. If you want to, God bless you. But I think just doing something daily, or it could even be weekly, where you start taking notes and seeing the results you're getting or not getting, and kind of going back and looking at them saying, wow, it looks like I really, my strength increased here. I had a really good week this week. Why did I kind of fall off the ladder here a little bit or whatever? Why is this not working? And then the next week was this. If you start to look at your notes from that perspective, look at your life too, because I think a lot of people don't realize maybe you had a bad week because you may have stayed out too late. You may have had a lot of work to do. Why did you skip that week of working out? Was it worth it? You go back and go, oh, I had to travel that week. That's why I couldn't work out. Or was I just being lazy? When you kind of keep a journal or a log on yourself, you kind of discover who you truly are, I think. Not only with working out, just your lifestyle. That doesn't mean you have to write down everything you're doing. But if you did keep notes, it could be regarding work or whatever the case may be, after a few months, 6 months, and you go back and look, you can look at the things that you did that helped you, and also a lot of times that didn't help you, and you'll wonder why. Why did I make those decisions? And I think that can help people in the future to make better decisions, because a lot of times we just we keep doing the same stupid shit over and over again. But when you go back to your notes, it kind of exposes you for who you truly are. And that's the one thing, I remember when I was writing books, or I wrote 2 books, especially my Wingman book, and my perspective on it was really rough, I think, at times I was just trying to be as honest as I could regarding relationships, women, men, behavior, all that. And you're like, once you release this out there, like that's who you are, like there's no going back. I said, yeah, that's how I feel. I'm not that caught up in it. I said, this is just how I felt. But when you kind of put it in writing, and now, truthfully, I'll go back and look at my book. And it was a while ago, I was like, holy shit, I can't believe sometimes I felt that way, or I thought that way. That may not be how I feel now about certain things, because I've evolved and changed. But I understood my perspective. But it's almost like when you're writing those books and making those movies, it's a journal of my life, what I was going through. And my first movie is about the underground world of gambling in Chicago, and I'm in that movie quite often. I wasn't supposed to be, but I was. One of my closest friends was supposed to play that role, but he became very religious, so I took it on. And a lot of the person in that role, I wasn't even acting. It was just who I was. And I just looked like a total different human being. Physically, I definitely do. Acting-wise, the way my behavior is, my look, the way I treated people, talked to people, and I was under a lot of stress because I'm making a film, but I was like, wow, that was my life back then. I loved gambling. I like going to Italian restaurants, but we collected money. I lived a different type of lifestyle. And it's amazing to go back, and not only me, I had a lot of my friends in there. So that was 20 years ago. A lot of people don't have the opportunity to go back 20 years and really see who they are, with the exception of maybe some videos or photos. But it's easy to look at photos, for instance, and or maybe even some videos here and there and go, oh, wow, that's kind of, But when you see a full film and you're in it, or you you have a lot of documentation, I guess you could say, of who you were at that point in time compared to who you are now. It's amazing how, for the most part, a lot of us change. Not everybody, but the world is changing, so you're changing as well no matter what. So even if you're not changing, your surroundings a lot of times are, for the most part, and people are as well, which I'm not going to get into a whole thing with that. But my point being with notes again is, if you're starting a business, for instance, you might definitely want to start taking some notes on what you're going through, because you never know, you may revisit them again. They're also nice to go back and see kind of like what you were doing at that point in time, your enthusiasm, what was making you do what you did. And because a lot of times I think when you have struggles in your life, if you're opening a business or whatever, it could even be going to the gym, whatever the case may be, when you go back and or you're going through hard times, you're like, what am I doing this for? This sucks. I don't even like this anymore. You're having a bad week, a bad month. You may go back to your notes and say, holy shit, I remember why I'm doing this, because, this reason. I've kind of been caught up in something else, or I've been very negative, or, I'm boo-hooing, I'm being a baby. When you go back, you go, okay, the reason you started this business is because, whatever reasons those are. But it's nice to have those notes to recap on anything you're doing. And if you're a mother, father, I don't care who you are, you can prevent so many goddamn mistakes, I'm telling you, by just taking notes. And it only takes a few seconds here or there. If someone's even telling me something, I'm going through that right now regarding a birthday, somebody's saying first, someone's like, hey, pick up a cake. I'm like, okay. And then someone said, hey, no, pick up some, you got to pick up the cupcake too. And then they're like, oh yeah, don't forget they like a Starbucks cookie thing is a joke, all these things. And I just go right to my notes. Instead of saying, okay, I remember that. Oh yeah, I got that. The reality is I'm going to probably forget 90% of it. I remember getting a cake, right? I'll forget all the other ad things, but I don't have to get long-winded, but please take some damn notes, especially with a phone. Do it. It's going to be a game changer. And also, not only put notes in what you got to do now, but also sometimes, and I do this with my podcast, or I do this with other things, what I need to do, like say next month or the month after, or just things to research. It could even be movies I want to see. I meet people all the time. They're like, Rich, watch this on Netflix, watch this comedy special. And it'll go in one ear out the other. I'm like, yeah, I'm excited. And then I'll forget. Then I'll be like, oh my God, who did I even talk to? Because I travel so much. So again, just go back to my notes, put the person's name, boom. I do that with YouTube videos a lot of times. I don't know if you do this, but a lot of times I'm scrolling and I'll see, oh my God, instead of always clicking on every video I want to watch, I'll click on it, grab the link, and put it away. Grab another one, put it away. And because sometimes I see multiple ones I want to see, I just don't have the time to watch them all at that point in time. And then I save them all, because sometimes you go back to YouTube, they're gone. So that is something else I do. So, you could do that as well, whatever the hell. And if you have bills, obviously, I'll tell you, if you are somebody who has an issue keeping up with all the different types of bills, from your rent to electric to credit cards to car payment to insurance, everything in between, just by like making your notes, like just your bills, saying this has to be, just the dates and what has to be paid, and knowing it's there, I think people freak out, but they don't want to look at shit like that a lot of times. But I'm telling you, if you have those lined up, and I used to have that, and especially if it's not automatic being, deducted out of your account, and you have to pay these things, instead of forgetting them or hurting your credit or anything, just go to it like, once a day, look and say, do I have anything to pay? Or, all those things. It's right in front of you. It's very fast. It's not like you have to get back online, go to the electric company, figure out what the day it's due. If you just take your notes, what you owe, usually, what's usually the date you owe it at, it just makes things so much easier in your life. People just make life, I think, sometimes a lot more complicated than it has to be. And I think a lot of that has to do with fear. They almost don't want to think about having to pay a bill, so they'll neglect it on purpose. But I'm telling you, once you kind of get everything a little organized in your life, it's going to pay out, I promise you, once you kind of get your shit together. But one of the reasons your shit probably isn't together a lot of times is because you're just not organized. And you don't have to be super duper organized. That's what makes me laugh. I am the biggest gypsy hippie snob going, that I'm not obsessed with anything, but certain things I know that I'd like to take care of, and I don't always just depend on receiving a text to notify me on certain things or an email, because as you know, those things can sometimes, you miss them, or they don't get sent, or they go into spam, or whatever the case may be. Just take some goddamn notes and get organized a little bit for you, your family, or whoever you're with. Just simple stuff. All right, I'm going to wrap it up there. If you get a chance, check out my YouTube channel if you're interested in different restaurants, Italian restaurants I go to, smoothie spots all over North America, my favorite places to go, gyms. I also have a LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram account. My girlfriend runs my Instagram account, so if you hit me up there, you're going to probably be socializing with her. Just a heads up. So that's all I got for you. All right, take care, and if you're traveling, safe travels.